To continue with the day, we have Dr. Jay Palaniswamy to enlighten us on the topic Demand Planning as a Career Option for Biology Students. Dr. Jay Palaniswamy is a Global Demand Planning Expertise Manager at Dow Chemicals USA. He obtained his PhD in Agriculture Science from NUS Singapore. He is specialized in integrated demand planning processes and systems, business and market analysis, supply planning, sales and operation planning, performance management, systems and designs, integration, testing and delivery, and strategic project management. We are awaiting to listen your inspiring words, sir. Here comes Dr. Jay Palaniswamy. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Soundarya. Let me share my screen. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, clear, sir. Your screen is clear, sir. Kindly make it as a slideshow. Yeah.
Okay.
Super. It's clear, sir.
Thanks for the introduction. Just a recap. My name is Jay Palaniswamy. I work for the Dow Chemical Company based in Midland, Michigan, US. And I am the demand planning and analytics lead for the company. So the topic I'm going to touch today is demand planning as a career option for biology students. If you look at my background, I did agriculture, bachelor's and master's degree in agriculture, then did a PhD, and then did a postdoctoral fellowship. And after that, I decided, I took a step back and thought about it. If this is going to, what would be good from a career standpoint, and I decided to change my career. So I just wanted to talk about like my personal career journey, so that you guys can understand that there are multiple options available. If you're a biology student and you're done a highly specialized with a PhD, you don't have to think that you have narrowed down into a area and you will not be able to come out of it. So that's the reason why I want to share my personal career journey here. And then I want to touch upon demand planning. What is demand planning? I'll start very simple and get into the details. And in the process, I'll talk about what are the skills that are required to be a good demand planner. And then I'll touch upon an example where I used the demand planning techniques to estimate the demand for a pesticide in the sugarcane market. So this is my high-level agenda. So introduction to my career. I started I completed my master's degree in agricultural microbiology back in 1996 from Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, Coimbatore. And I had one publication from my master's work. And then I joined KCB Sugars as a research trainee, ending up in a research scientist. I was more focused on biofertilizers, trying to develop microbial fertilizers for the sugarcane crop. And then I moved on to Singapore and I did my PhD in plant microbe interactions at NUS Singapore. Basically, the work that I did at NUS was the interactions between ectomycorrhiza, fungus, which is called as Physolithus tinctorius, and a bacteria, Bradyrhizobium, how these two microorganisms work together in boosting the yield for a tree, Acacia mangium. I had 4 publications from my PhD work. Then I immigrated to Canada and I did a postdoctoral fellowship at Agriculture Canada Agriculture Canada is a government, a Canadian government organization. I did my agriculture and postdoctoral fellowship there, and I had four publications, one review article, and three other publications. My focus there was to uh, there was a like a fungus, Ascochyta rabi, which is a very devastating fungus on chickpea. And so my work was more focused on how can we manage that disease in chickpea. At this point, I decided, I'll talk more about that in my next slide, but this is where I transitioned. After doing my postdoctoral fellowship for 2 years, I transitioned into a different function. So after my postdoctoral fellowship, I did my MBA at Rotterdam School of Management. I specialized in marketing, and that's how I was able to transition from research to the industry. And since 2008, I have been in the demand planning space. Initially, I joined FMC Corporation. It's a chemical company, and one of the businesses they had is agricultural input business, which is basically pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. I was able to use my background and also the MBA that taught me, opened up my uh, um, opportunities into other business areas. I worked at FMC for about 8 years, and I uh, when I joined FMC, they didn't have a demand planning process at all. So I established the process, implemented tools and systems that are scalable, and I also did end-to-end supply chain analytics. And then after that, I joined Dow Chemical Company, and I have been with this company for the past 6+ years. So that's my introduction. So, what career options I had after my postdoctoral fellowship? So basically, I had four options. I could have become an assistant professor in a university, or I could have continued as a research scientist in an agricultural research station, or I could have become a product development biologist in a company of my choice. And the fourth option is one what that is deviating from a career background, is getting into the data analytics space. So these were the options that I evaluated. And then for option 1 to 3, to be able to get into a company or a university or become a scientist, there are a few requirements. We need to have publications in high impact journals, working knowledge of advanced techniques. Like there are some buzzwords like molecular biology, molecular genetics, proteomics, bioinformatics. So, we need to have some sort of a knowledge on those advanced techniques. And if you want to get into a company, we need to understand the local products in the market. And last but not least, we also need to have a good network with scientific community. But in my case, coming from an agricultural background, I have done applied research, basically testing multiple different options for boosting plant yield. And I have not done any fundamental research, trying to understand the mechanism behind it. So I had about 9 publications, but all of my publications were not in high impact journals. And most of my studies were related to field research, so I didn't have the chance to learn a lot of advanced techniques at that time. After I completed my 2 years of postdoctoral fellowship, and having moved from India to Singapore and then to Canada, agriculture is very different in all these 3 different countries. The agriculture in India is more small farms, like with not using a lot of advanced equipments, and then the weeds and all those things, pests and all of those things are different between countries. Um, so when I moved to Canada, it's a whole different game. In Canada, farmers generally have 1,500 acres of lands, and then it's highly mechanized, and then it's input intensive. So a lot of differences. If we want to crack and get into a company, we should be quick enough to learn the local agricultural practices, local weeds, pests, and the products that are being used in the uh, crop production. And again, since I moved to different countries, I did my PhD in USA. I have a good network of professors in Singapore, but then I moved to Canada. I did not have any academic contacts at that time. So these are all these are all the requirements, and these are all some constraints as well from me pursuing a career in academic research. Um, um, I could have accomplished these things if I had continued as a postdoctoral fellowship for 3 more years or 4 more years. But the risk is in the US and Canada, if you continue as a postdoctoral fellowship for more than 7 years, then the chances of becoming an assistant professor or accomplishing any of these things is uncertain. So it was a lot of uncertainty at that time. So I decided, okay, what if I get into analytics? So I did not pursue these three options, and I decided to pursue the option four. I had a strong passion for data analytics. In my master's, PhD, and postdoctoral fellowships, since I did field research, you gather a lot of data, and then the real challenge is in analyzing that data and reporting it out. So I had a strong passion for data analytics, and I thought that there is a similarity between academic research in science versus market research or business analytics. Uh, so let me share that in my next slide. So I thought about what's the similarity between scientific and business environment. So, like if you're doing a research, master's or a PhD research, these are the five things that you do. Try identify a problem, design a study, gather data, perform analysis, and report it out. What we do in an academic setup is we read a lot of literature to understand in our area of interest, to understand what has been done so far, where is the future going, what is the gap, and how can I contribute to that future development. And then we design a study, like because you have identified a gap and no data exists in that particular area. So you design a study to generate data to prove your hypothesis. And then you conduct a lot of lab and field studies to gather data, analyze the data to understand what's going on, and then you report the findings to the scientific community. If you look at the business environment, it's pretty much same, but just slightly different. You still have to identify problem in a business environment. How do you identify problem? You can talk to the senior management, people who are in the business for long, like sales people, marketing people. Depending on yeah, there are several functions within a business: sales, marketing, product management, finance, regulations, a lot of different areas. So basically, the first thing is to talk to the senior management to understand the problem, and then in most cases, in a business environment, you don't have to design a study to generate data. It's more, in most cases, the data already exists, but nobody is using it. That's the thing. The data already exists. Nobody has the time to analyze the data and understand what's going on. So we like in a business environment, we don't have to generate data, but we need to understand where the data exists, what is the source, and then go ahead with that understanding. In some cases, for example, you are introducing a new product, uh, or you wanted to enter into a new market. The data does not exist in that case. So normally, what people do to collect data, gather data for that, is conduct surveys, send out a questionnaire, or conduct a discussion forum. There are a number of ways to generate data from a business perspective. And then once you identify the source, it's basically you have to gather data from the identified sources. It could be you talk to people, or you access some databases, uh, um, or there are a lot of the information available online. I can share some of the examples at the end where you can gather data that's needed for your analysis. And then same thing, perform the analysis the same way you did in academic research. You analyze the data from a scientific perspective. Here it's you have to analyze the data from a business perspective, with the issue in mind, and report the findings to the senior management. There is a lot of difference between reporting. That's one thing that definitely, as a academic research, you try to get into the details, be more technical, try to explain complex hypotheses. But in a business environment, it has to be very at a very high level, especially when you are talking to a senior management. It has to be because like they deal with hundreds of thousands of things on a day-to-day basis, and if you get into the details, they may not understand. So it have to be at a very high level, just to the point, in a very simple and a straightforward way. So these are some there are lots of similarities, but there is some difference between scientific and the business environment. But then, how did I accomplish this transition from academic research to business? Academic research, I was more focused on science, more technical, more kind of lab and field research, less interaction with people. And then publications were more detailed. But business, how did I transition from that kind of a mindset to a business mindset? Basically, I did a full-time MBA at Rotterdam School of Management. There are other options as well. People can do a part-time MBA or an online MBA, or just uh, buy those books. One good thing you do a full-time is there will be a lot of case studies where you discuss business issues. And again, part-time and online MBA should have all those options as well. But it's not it's a risky decision at that point in my career, because when I did my MBA, I was already 36, and then I had to come out of my job for a year. And then I was not certain whether after I complete, I have to spend money for my full-time MBA. Like it's like 40,000 euros. And then I was not uncertain. I was not certain that after my MBA I will definitely get a job. But it was a risky decision that I took, but which paid me off. But there are other options as well. You don't have to do a full-time MBA. Uh, the cheaper and better options are taking certifications, trying to understand uh, the uh, the area you want to get into in analytics, and you can do Google search to find out different certifications. There are lots of certifications. Well, one of the things that I did is a certified professional forecaster, which helps you to understand what is forecasting from a business standpoint, and what are the pitfalls and all those things. And then of course project management professional is another certification. There are other certifications like certified market research professional, certified market research analyst, all those things. So all of those certifications will definitely help to open up your mind from a scientific perspective to a business perspective. So after I did my MBA and uh, when I completed my MBA program, and it was back in 2007. At that time, the Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy, and the whole world went into recession. But that did not stop me from getting a job, because it's how you project yourself. So the situation is not a constraint in getting a job. It's the way you project yourself when you go to interviews, and how do you bring all your skills together and put it in front of the hiring manager. So after my I did my MBA, I joined FMC, and then currently I'm the demand planning and analytics lead at Dow Chemical Company. So what is the demand planning? Now I'm changing topics. I have been talking about my career journey, how I was able to how deep I went into research, then how I took a step back, evaluated my options, and then took some risky decisions, and then finally it paid off to me when I got a job. So now I'm going to talk about demand planning. I'll start with very simple examples, so that many of you might be new to this area. So I'll start simple and then get into some little bit of details as I progress. So demand planning, it's basically trying to understand the demand for a product at a given place at a given time for your company. So what will be the demand? Example: how many boxes of candies I can sell in Chennai during Deepavali at my store? So this is all about demand planning. Remember, there are four things: product, place, time, and company. Here in this example, the boxes of candies is the product that you want to sell. The place is Chennai, where you want to sell. Time is at what time you want to sell, and the store is your company. So this is demand planning. It sounds very simple at this point, but okay, why is demand planning important? You understand what is demand planning, but then now you need to understand why is it important. Just imagine you have a store, and you have demand for 100 boxes of candies. What if there are two scenarios that I have posted here? You have demand for 100 boxes, but you don't know that you carry 200 boxes of candies. What will happen? You sell 100, and you'll keep 100 more in inventory, and you will not be able to sell it because these are perishable commodities, and you cannot sell it later. So you might end up losing money on 100 boxes of candies, or you might sell it at a later time. So you're locking the money, which is called as working capital, for several months, which is not good. On the other hand, you have demand for 100 boxes of candies, but you carry only 50 boxes of candies. What happens? You end up losing the customer. People don't wait. They come to your shop. If you don't have the product, they go to your competitor and buy it from there. So then those customers might not return back in the future. So you end up losing the customer, and above all, you also lose the profit from selling 50 boxes of candies. So you need to understand the demand, and you need to carry products based on the demand with some sort of uncertainty. If there is demand for 100 boxes, you could carry 95 or 110 boxes, like in the range. You will not be exactly calculate the demand, estimate the demand, but you should be in that ballpark range. Otherwise, what happens if you don't do that? You end up losing customers. You end up increasing your cost of doing business, and you end up losing on profit. So that's why demand planning is very important for a company. So okay, okay, I understand what is demand planning, why is it important, but what is in it for me as a researcher in biology? Because you guys are in doing or in different stages of your educational journey. Some of them are undergrad, some of them are postgrad, some of them are PhD. So there are several instances where you can apply demand planning knowledge. Some examples, you have, like for example, you have a strong knowledge in a particular pharmaceutical product or area, uh, uh, but you want to get into a company, and you're interested in a career outside of research. If you're doing great in research, just continue that. But if you want to try to explore different options, then we can, with this knowledge, you have a good understanding of a particular pharmaceutical area. For example, diabetics. You understand the market, you understand the segment, they understand the different types of people within the multiple different segments. With that knowledge, you develop this demand planning capability, and you go to the interview for a pharmaceutical company. You'll be able to speak better compared to all your competitors during the interview, because you have the domain knowledge. So it will help you in getting a job if you have domain knowledge plus the demand planning experience. And again, if you have developed an innovative product and you want to sell your idea, you have to project to the whoever is your target client. You have to project the benefits out of this innovative product from multiple different ways, like what is that product, who are the competitors in that area, who are the buyers of that product, who are the competitors in that area, what their products are, and how do you plan to penetrate, how is your product different from theirs, and how do you plan to penetrate. So this kind of analysis, definitely the demand planning understanding will come in handy to be able to help sell a product. And there are additional other things, like when you do a publication, you're working in an area, but people wanted to understand the impact. Like you're sending a research publication or a funding request. If you add some sort of demand or economic analysis to your publication about the impact, what is going to be the impact of the work that you did from a economy and from a social perspective. So those things will add value to your publication or your funding request, and it may increase the scope of acceptance. There could be several other instances, but these are something that came to my mind when I put together this one. So now I'm getting into the details. If you're interested, again, if you're successful in your research career, and you have publications and you have a well-defined plan, just keep going towards your plan. But if you want to explore different options, you can consider demand planning an option. So what is, like, demand planning can be just a little bit of details. Like when you go to a shop to buy a product, let us take you want to buy a cell phone. You go to a shop and you buy it. There are a lot of things that happen behind screens. It doesn't come straight away come to the shelf. Like there are lots of components that go into a cell phone. So The first thing is sourcing. We have to identify the suppliers who sell those components and buy those components. So the first step is sourcing. So basically, you buy all the components, and all the components go to a manufacturing place where it gets assembled, and the final product comes out of that from the raw materials or components. Once you have the product, it has to be distributed. It goes to the wholesaler, and then from there it goes to the retailer. And you as a customer go to the retail shop and you buy the product. So the process starts in sourcing and ends when the product is purchased by the customer. The time between the start to end is called the lead time. So the lead time determines the complexity of a process. So a simple example, coffee shop, they buy milk in the morning, make coffee, sell it to customers. It all happens within 3 hours, or like maybe a day. The lead time is in hours. Planning is relatively simple. Complex, agricultural chemicals, agricultural product, these are not cannot be done in a day. If you're talking about agricultural production, you have to purchase seeds, sow them, and allow the plants to grow, and then harvest it, and then process it, and then ship it to the nearby markets. It's definitely a 4-5 month process. Chemicals, like same thing. You have herbicides, fungicides, and a lot of inputs, fertilizers, all those inputs that goes into the ag input market. Pharmaceutical supply chain is somewhat similar to the agricultural supply chain, chemical supply chain. So the lead time is in months. You source raw materials from multiple different countries. Some of the sources come from Middle East countries. Some of them come from natural gas producing countries. If you have the raw material in one country, but you may not have, the cost of production may be very high in that country. So you have to find an alternative country to do the manufacturing. And then once you manufacture the product, it's not that the manufacturing location and the end customer live in the same country. You manufacture in China, but then it gets distributed to all over the world. So it has to be distributed, and then the distribution, it's not always air freight because it's expensive. Some of them would be air freight, and some of them would be depending on the criticality of the thing. Some of them would be on ship and cargoes, and then some of them would be on land. So there are multiple ways of distribution, and then finally it gets to the point of sale. So the lead time is in months, and you have to estimate the demand several months ahead of time. So if you want to sell a fertilizer to a customer today, you need to understand the demand. The company that is manufacturing the fertilizers should understand the demand and manufacture the right amount of fertilizer or pesticide or herbicide ahead of time. As I mentioned earlier, if they make more, they will not be able to sell, and it will sit in the inventory, and it will lock your money into the product that is not selling. If you manufacture less, you lose upon customers, and you lose profit. So that's why demand planning is important, and it can be simple to complex. So just imagine how complex it will be to plan for demand for a multinational company. This is just a thing to show that what I explained in my previous slide. There are customers could be sitting in different parts of the world. Raw materials are sourced from different parts of the world. Manufacturing locations are present in different parts of the world. You cannot get the product if you have an unexpected demand and you want to meet the demand. You will not get the product immediately because it's going to take a lot of time to get the product. So just to see how complex it can be to plan demand for an MNC. So the reason why I'm showing this is looking at some of the examples. Demand planning can be very simple, and you might think, what is there in demand planning? But if you add more and more complexity to a business process, demand planning becomes more and more complex. So, okay, I'm interested in demand planning. I understand what is demand planning, understand the importance of it, and I know there are opportunities for demand planning. I wanted to pursue a career in demand planning. Now the question that you comes to your mind is, what are the skills required? Do I need demand planning? It looks like we need to use lots of data analytics. So, do I need to be an expert in math? The answer is no. You don't have to be an expert in math. When I got my first job in demand planning, I did not have any prior experience in demand planning. Like till that point, when you looked at my career path, when I joined FMC, I did not have any experience. All that I had is PhD degree, 9 publications, and then MBA at that point. And I also did not have a strong background in math. I studied math only till my 10th standard, and after that, a few courses, but not highly complicated math. Even if you give me equation and ask me to solve it today, I'll not be able to do it because I didn't have that mathematical background. But I had the following unique combination of skills. I had the expertise in the agricultural domain, understand how crop is high level understanding of the crop production, what are the inputs, how does the yield gets affected by local weather conditions, pest conditions, kind of a background. And then I had strong background in statistics. You as a researcher, you gather a lot of data, and before you publish it, you definitely have to use statistical analysis to understand the confidential, a level of confidence in your results. So statistics, if you could further expand that knowledge in statistics, develop some curiosity in statistics, just go beyond that a normal thing like ANOVA, those things, go and variability analysis, F analysis, T analysis, those are all more science related. But expanding into other areas of statistics like correlation, regression analysis, all those things are pretty much, if you have a basic understanding in statistics, developing that skill is not difficult. So it's easily, you can expand that knowledge into something advanced. And then there are several tools like SAS, SPSS, JMP that you might have used in your research studies to analyze data. Similar, use those same tools and just start exploring how you can. I'll talk about a couple of techniques. Start exploring those techniques in those tools. And then, so I had a strong background in statistics, and I had a high level of understanding how the business operates, just through my MBA studies. Just did a one year MBA course. It just opened up my mind. Till that point, I was more focused on research, literature, designing a study, developing a hypothesis, designing a study, conducting the study, gathering data, and reporting it out in publications. That was my thinking thing. Um, I was interested in product development, but I did not know the implications. Like if you want to develop a product, you have to understand the market. You have to understand the customers. You have to understand how different customers, segment of customers behave. You need to understand what is the cost of manufacturing, what is the scale of manufacturing, and then you need to understand what is the price you can sell that product for. You need to understand who are the competitors, what are they, what is their cost of manufacturing, and how much they are selling it for. Without all these things, you will not be able to develop a product. So that kind of understanding, when I did my MBA, that opened up my mind. and provided me, okay, product, it's not research. Like you can do research on hundreds of thousands of things and develop hundreds of thousands of products. But if it is not economically viable, it will not go to the market. So when you, that kind of knowledge, my MBA opened up thing. So definitely uh, it'll be good. You don't have to have prior experience in demand planning. You don't have to be strong in math. But if you're actually good in your domain, whatever area you're working, you understand the market, you understand the customers, and you expand your knowledge on statistics, just not the ones or techniques that you use in research. Just explore a little bit more into other areas of statistical analysis, and then just open up your mind on from a market standpoint. That will give you enough confidence to go to the interview and talk to the hiring manager, and prove your capability, and land up in a job. Okay, so till this point, I talked about my career journey, and then how I overcome the transition from academic to research, and then we talked about demand planning. What is demand planning? Why is it important? How do what are the skills required to become a demand planner, and what is in it for you? What are the opportunities that you have as a biology student from a demand planning perspective? Okay, now I'm going to show you an example of how to forecast demand for a product. This is going into a little bit of detail, and if you want to explore more in statistics, these are the things that you need to explore. There are two types of forecasting. Time series forecasting, it just extrapolates the historical trend and seasonality into the future. When I say trend, how does the demand grow year after year? Is it growing, or is it staying flat, or is it declining? That's the trend. Then when I say seasonality, how is the demand distributed in a year over the 12-month period? So that is seasonality. So basically extrapolating, you can see here 4 years of history, and this is the current timeline, and you can see 2 years of forecast. Simply extrapolating the historical trend and seasonality into the future. This is the most simple way of forecasting, and many people can do this because it doesn't need any market knowledge. You just look at 4 years of data and extrapolate it. Where you can differentiate yourself is in method 2. Method 2 is kind of called as causal forecasting. You have to identify drivers of sales. So in this case, what happened here? What's driving this this sales? Who are the customers? What are they interested in? Why there was a dip here? Kind of like trying to understand drivers of sales. And then once you identify what's driving the sales, you have to gather historical data on those drivers which drive sales. The sales data is internal. Like every company will have their own sales data. What did that company sell back 4 years back, 3 years back, 2 years back? That information will be already available within that company. But once you establish the drivers, this information may not be available within the company. Some companies subscribe for those data on external drivers. Some companies do not subscribe, but that information should be available online. I can show an example about that later. So gather historical data on the driver, and then you have to correlate driver with sales. Like if the I can show you those correlations in my next slide. These are technical things, and then forecast based on the driver sales relationship. So this is trying to understand the market, what is driving sales, and forecasting based on that understanding. This not everyone can do. Like if you go to an interview and you just project your capability in time series forecasting, and you are competing with engineers and economists, you will not be able to differentiate yourself, because they will be more advanced in time series forecasting. But you go to an interview, you touch upon this. I am like you show your strength that I have strong understanding of this the diabetics market in India. I understand the products. I know what's driving the increase in diabetic patients. Uh, and then if you can establish some correlations and talk about that, that will add a lot of difference. Hiring managers would love to hear that kind of information, input from whoever they are interviewing. So this is how you can differentiate yourself by getting into the causal forecasting piece of it. So there are two techniques. One is a simple technique. The other one is a little bit uh, complex. And I'm going to talk about the method two in my rest of my presentation. So if you want to do a causal forecasting, what are the different steps?